Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, we're going to give you our waiver wire ads for week 4 of the fantasy football season. I'm joined by Logan Glaser once again here of RealTime Fantasy Sports. Logan, good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff. Week 3, we probably had one of our highest week scoring weeks that I can remember in the last couple of years, but that we had some monster scores across the fantasy industry.
Yeah, I believe there were 4 players with 40-plus fantasy points. That's crazy. If you had any of those
Jeez.
guys on your team, you likely won your games.
Yeah, and we almost had a scoring record by the Dolphins, a field goal short.
He didn't want to pile it on, though. Got to give Mike McDaniel credit for that. I mean, a
Yeah,
lot of
for
a lot
sure.
of managers might have done that, and a lot of coaches might have said, "You know what? I want the record." He didn't do it.
For sure.
Devin Achane, I doubt he was used in a lot of leagues, though. Kind of, finally got his chances and absolutely tore it up. Had more than 50 fantasy points. Just crazy. He did not make our list this week because he's owned in nearly 80% of our leagues. So he was not dropped by many of those owners that drafted him. Like we kind of mentioned before we came on, he was a late round pick. Even earlier in drafts, he was going in the mid rounds of drafts, even sooner than that, because people thought he might be the starter ahead of Raheem Mostert. But I still think Mostert's going to start because he's been tremendous. But Achane definitely earned his way to get more work going forward.
For sure. Yeah, I still don't feel comfortable starting him in leagues. I think it was just one of those weird weeks where the backups got so much work with them having such a huge lead, but it's definitely a guy to monitor in case an injury does happen or
Yeah,
something
I'm
else.
not starting him this week. I actually put him on my cold list as I writing my column today for tomorrow, my lineup prep, and they play Buffalo. I think it'll be a closer game, not quite as high scoring. I think he's not going to get quite as much work. So, like you said, I don't know if I totally trust him, despite that monster game last week. All right, let's talk about the waiver wire ads now for week 4. This is what we do every week. We give you 3 players we like. Also, talk about a streaming defense because that's what a lot of you like to do out there in your league. So we try to help you out there. So, Logan, give me your first waiver wire ad for this week.
Yeah, first one I'm going to be looking at is Andy Dalton. So this is basically only if you need a quarterback. He's owned in less than 5%, but I think he's a great streaming option this week as quarterback. They're going against Minnesota this week. A lot still depends if Bryce Young is out, but if he is out, I love him this week. I think it's going to be a high scoring affair against Minnesota. Last week, Dalton had 58 pass attempts, which is just outrageous against Seattle. 361 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was good for 27.15 fantasy points, and he put up a really good number. So definitely a guy to keep an eye out for as in a high scoring matchup. And he's available in almost every single league.
Yeah, if he starts again this week, like you said, he looked good. And it kind of shows me that Bryce Young might not be quite ready for the big time because he has kind of struggled here to start. And Dalton moved the offense a little bit, including some of those playmakers they have on that side of the ball with Thielen and Shark and the tight end. Well, man, why can't I think of his name?
Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst. That's it. I was going to say Hunter Henry. I knew it was too easy. Regardless, he moved that offense a little bit. I kind of like that call, at least for this week, because I think he could get another start. I'm going to give you a QB2 as my first ad, and that's CJ Stroud. He's owned in 38.1% of our leagues. I think that's going to keep going up, though. He just keeps getting it done, and he's the clear front runner, in my opinion, for best rookie quarterback this year. He's really been outstanding. Has gone without an interception to start his career these first 3 games. Also has 2 games with 23-plus fantasy points. That offense has been pretty good with Tank Dell and Nico Collins leading away in the passing game. I think Stroud's going to be worth some spot fantasy starts the rest of the way. So if you're looking for a number 2 QB, maybe your backup hasn't gotten it done, I'd consider adding Stroud here for the rest of the season. All right, give me another one of your waiver wire ads, Logan.
Yeah, next one it's going to be paired up with Andy Dalton. You kind of mentioned him, DJ Chark. He's only 15% owned, and I think he's a great flex play for this week. Again, like I mentioned, it's going to be a very high scoring affair. I think Minnesota, all their games have been high scoring so far. Chark is second on the team in targets. He's kind of the second option that we kind of saw from Dalton last week. Thielen is that number 1 option, but being the number 2 option is perfectly fine, and he's available in 85% of the leagues. So good flex play. He had 18.6 fantasy points last week, 11 targets, and he scored a touchdown. He had a 47-yard reception as well. So definitely a guy to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I think people soured on him because he was hurt to start the season, but he has a chance to play a big role in that offense. I like that.
for sure.
I'm going to give you a receiver as well, and that's Michael Gallup with the Dallas Cowboys. So he's 18.1% owned in our leagues. He had his first game all season with multiple receptions last year. He's done nothing until last week, but he caught 6 passes for 92 yards on 7 targets. I thought it was really encouraging to see him heavily involved in the offense. Remember, he's a former 1,000-yard receiver. He has gotten a big contract a couple years ago. I think he's still a big part of this team going forward, even with Brandon Cooks there, who hasn't impressed me to start. I think Gallup could end up getting a lot more work going forward. So I'm really kind of intrigued by him the rest of the way and hope that week 3 game gets him going. All right, Logan, give me your last ad for this week.
Yeah, last player ad. I think he's going to be the highest bid on player this week. That's under 50% owned, and that's going to be Josh Palmer. He's only 10% currently owned on RT Sports Leagues. Again, the Mike Williams, he had the season-ending injury. So the Chargers need a wide receiver 2 to step up, and I think Palmer is going to be that guy to step up in that number 2 role. You'll go against me on this coming shortly, but I think Quentin Johnston hasn't been that great this year. He's only 3 targets is the most he's had so far in a game, but Palmer looked really good last week, 66 yards, and had a touchdown last week. So it's definitely going to be a battle for that number 2 role, and whoever gets it will have fantasy value. It's not a guy that you need to go blow all your fab on, but I think he's worth a 10 to 20% of your fab to go out and try to get him.
So I'm not going to go against you. I am recommending Quentin Johnston as my last ad, but it's only because you took him already, Logan. I think Palmer's a better play. I think he's going to get more targets. He got hyped up in the preseason and training camp as well. They said he looked great. So I still think he's a number 2 guy, but I am recommending Quentin Johnston. He's actually owned on more teams, 52.7%. But like you said, he's done next to nothing his first 3 games. I think that could change going forward with Williams done for the year, like you mentioned. He should see a lot more opportunities going forward. I think he's worth picking up if he's available. He's going to have some big games. I just think he's going to be a little boomer bust, but you have to love this passing game. They're getting it done, and they can't run the ball right now with Austin Eckler out of the lineup. So I think that bodes well for both Palmer and Johnston here the next few weeks. All right, Logan, let's talk about a streaming defense. Who do you like that's not owned out there in many leagues that you think could help this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Detroit Lions. I don't think I would ever say that, but they ranked 11th in defenses so far on the NFL season through 3 weeks. Last week, they had 7 sacks against Atlanta. Aiden Hutchinson has been phenomenal on that line so far. And then they got a Thursday night football game this week against Green Bay, whose offense has just been okay so far. They haven't been great. Jordan Love has done a good job of protecting the football. I'm interested to see how he matches up against Aiden Hutchinson rushing him, but it's a good streaming option as they are available in 87% of leagues.
All right, my defense is now this one I am going to go against you a little bit. It's Minnesota. They're owned in 9.8% of leagues, so I do think there could be some points and yards in this game, but I still don't totally trust that Panthers offense. Still not super impressive to me, and Minnesota's had absolutely brutal matchups the last 2 games against the Eagles and Chargers. The first week of the season, the defense wasn't too bad, but they played the Eagles and Chargers the last 2 games, kind of skewed their numbers, in my opinion. They have sacks every game this season, including 4 in week 2. I think they're going to do better in a favorable matchup. Still, I don't think it's going to be a huge fantasy day for Minnesota, but I think they're a fine streaming option if you're looking for a defense to get you 7, 8, 9 points or so. All right, Logan, those are our waiver wire ads for this week. Should be another exciting week of fantasy football out there. I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about your waiver wire ads.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
All right, good luck to all you out there. You try to navigate those waiver wires this week. Should be exciting as always in week 4 of the fantasy football season. This has been Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day, everyone.